Again, I'll go back to Wyoming here, what has happened there. Liz Cheney was a big eye-opener for the people of Wyoming. We fought the rhinos for the entire time I was there, and most people on Main Street, it's like, well, I'm from Wyoming. We got a Republican legislature, veto-proof Republican legislature pretty much the whole time. As long as they don't try to institute a state income tax or go after the Second Amendment, I'm okay. I'm just going to ignore them. And the rhinos just ran rampant over things. We had gas taxes going up and all sorts of stuff. Now people are opening their eyes. And starting in about 2020 there, and you talk about grassroots. I got a friend, a young man who's a pastor of the church that we used to attend there, who decided, he needed to step up to the plate. Name is Jeremy Haroldson. From Wheatland, Wyoming. He runs for the legislature. He runs against an entrenched rhino who was pretty much kind of slated to be the Speaker of the Wyoming House. He beats him in the primary. He just gets in the legislature and says, I don't care how business is done here. Here's what we stand for the grassroots. You guys aren't doing it now. And I'm not going to say he's led this charge all by himself, but there's a movement there. There's this year a significant, I want to say about a quarter of the incumbents, Republicans in the Wyoming legislature that didn't run again because they're being challenged by grassroots conservatives. So you're looking at a sea change in the Wyoming legislature to where the next time the party says, hey, we want a good candidate as our representative, we're going to pick Liz Cheney or somebody like her, we're going to have a voice. The grassroots will have a voice to say, no, we're not going along with that.
It's really interesting, too, because I remember well when Donald Trump ran, it was outrage and anger. He's not a politician. He doesn't know how this works. He doesn't understand any of this. And that was, they were trying to make that a strike against him.
Yeah.
And, he's a businessman. He shouldn't be. And a lot of us, including myself, were like, based on how you've run the country, I'm sure I'd rather have a businessman run it. So,
and their biggest fear was that he would be validated on that basis. And that's exactly what happened.
That's what happened.
If you look at, again, 2016, the person, I'll try you on a little quiz here. You remember who it was that the GOP establishment said was our ideal candidate for 2016? This couldn't be more of a joke if you tried. Jeb Bush.
Oh God, yeah.
He was going to do what for America? Yeah, we were really going to rally around that. Right. But that's how the establishment works. One of the things I heard, and again, leftist lie, got to start from that perspective, that they didn't respect Donald Trump because he didn't have the Harvard degree, he didn't have this, he didn't have that. He wasn't one of the elites. He was just an outsider. Look at Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. Look at this hick from Arkansas. They liked him, and it wasn't about his pedigree. It was about the agenda. It wasn't about Trump's pedigree. It was about the agenda. And you could have 10 degrees from Harvard if you want. They'll still find some reason to castigate you and ridicule you and mock you if you don't advance their agenda. Mm-hmm. And on that basis, too many people who could face unbelievable onslaught in any other direction, they're weak when it comes to mockery.
And speaking of Clintons and Alinsky, Hillary Clinton, well-known fangirl of Alinsky. And I think she even wrote a thesis or something.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they make that's the crazy part to me too, that they make no bones about it. Like it's really all right there for you to see if you're willing to look. I mean,
if you're willing to look, absolutely.
Right. If you're willing to look, Clinton, Obama, I'm sure there's a whole host of other ones. Those are two of the big, really important examples of people who read and follow the Alinsky strategy.
Oh yeah, and it works for them. Look at Obama, the way he puts words in your mouth to make you look stupid, and the average Republican establishment type responds to the accusation instead of responding to his duplicity. You remember his very famous statement there about the people who cling to their guns and their Bibles. Okay, mm-hmm. If you read the whole statement, he makes this accusation in the middle of that to put us on the defensive. It's we cling to our guns and Bibles, and we think that our enemy is people who, quote, don't look like us. Now, not once did we ever say anything about the looks of these people, these foreign invaders coming from Mexico, taking the jobs and stuff. We never talked about their looks.
Right.
You know, I married a woman who looks completely different from me, and I'm so thankful for that. You know, it's not a matter of looks.
Right.
We were looking at what these people were actually representing for the sovereignty and the integrity of our country. But he makes that accusation in order to put us on the defensive. Well, I don't want to talk about being, for a secure border because people might think that I don't like people that look different from me. So I've got to play that down. Before long, I'm on the defensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the credit I will give them till the end of time is that they are diabolically brilliant, and that's scary. They are terrifyingly smart in a very manipulative, evil way to get their means. And another great book, I don't want to talk about another book while we're talking about your book, but Michael Knowles' Speechless, and he talks about throughout the book the evolution and the power that language words are given and throughout history, and these are just things we really need to understand, because
Right.
if we're ignorant of our history, we're doomed to repeat it, which we're in that process now. And thank God people are waking up. Thank God people like you have written the books that you've written. And I love the way that you break down your book as well. I heard that you said that you talk about specifically rhinos. And a lot of people, including myself, I had to give myself a crash course and everything because I was never politically minded. So I had to, in order to be able to have conversations like this, I really had to give myself a crash course. And there was a time where I didn't even know what a rhino was.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm not alone. There's so many people like me, your average Americans who are just getting up in the morning, going to work, taking care of their family, living life, and just trying to focus
That's
on.
all we want. We're not out to, to force our beliefs on other people. They talk about live and let live. That's a lie. That's something to get us to back off. But we want to go about our business. We want to raise our children in a free and just society. We want to be able to take home the fruits of our labors and things like that. And in the process, Americans, when they're allowed to live that way, they're the most generous, caring people. They're the ones that put all the money out across the world whenever there's a disaster. Mm. We're not the mean white nationalist bigots that they say that we are. And if we were, why do we have people from all around the world coming to this awful white nationalist bigoted country if it's such a terrible place? So it's just one more of the lies. I want to backtrack to something you were talking about a minute ago, where we're talking about using the language. And I'll take it back to my book here, do a little plug here again. But I ended up putting in 2 chapters on that very thing. I have a chapter on labels, because they start with these labels, and they preface every news story, every conversation. It begins with the label. I mentioned earlier that you don't ever see anywhere where they talk about left-wing extremists, but we're right-wing radicals, we're right-wing extremists. They start with the label and the white nationalism, et cetera. And then from that point, if you accept the label, now you're fighting for 2 strikes against you as you start this fight. The other one is the mantras that they use, and they say these things, no investigation ever fed a starving child. I mean, they come up with one thing after another, and they change over time because as situations warrant, they'll totally contradict themselves because the goal is to win the moment. But they utter these platitudes in order to say, here's where we come from. We're on the moral high ground, and you, as the right-wing extremist, as the hate monger, as a white nationalist, you're starting from this weak defensive position. And if we accept that, if we engage them on that level, instead of, as you said earlier, coming out and saying no, and let's get back, we're going to get back to facts here, and here's the facts. If we don't do that, we're going to lose. It's designed for us to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you put that in your book, because I think, as an author also, that's so important to me, the power and strength of words and how they're used to manipulate the masses, really. And, what adds to the insanity of all of that is that it's so widespread that if you do a Google search, any of these, liberal run organizations that are controlling words, essentially,
Right. It's controlling the information. Yep.
They're controlling the information, and they're changing the definitions of things. And I can't, it's escaped my mind, but there's a couple of ones that are, terms that we have known the definition of our entire lives. And now it's a different definition. And now it's something that, it's referred to as white nationalist.
Right. Patriotism.
Boom. There you go.
Okay. Let me give you the flip side on patriotism, because it's one of the terms I deal with in my book.
Thank you.
One of the mantras, now this, again, the book, it can change from day to day, but back during the Obama years, it was the biggest sin you could commit was to question a man's patriotism. Why? Because you had this leftist traitor in the White House. And if you called him a leftist traitor, you're questioning his patriotism, and that's the most evil, un-American thing you can do. Okay? And so at that point, I even heard, I'm going to mention the guy's name, I heard Sean Hannity one time. Are you questioning, remember Jeremiah Wright? Are you questioning his patriotism? Oh, no, I'm not. He instantly went on defense and he lost. And the thing is that we fall into those boundaries that they set for us. And at that point, what we've done is we've forfeited the moral high ground, which is ours. If you look on an issue by issue basis, we're on the moral high ground in reality. If you look at how they recast everything, and I can go down, I got a list of things here where every issue that comes up, they're going to recast it to where they're on the moral high ground. And if you accept their premise in any degree, instead of recognizing that it's a bald-faced lie, you forfeited. The border wall. They wouldn't fund the border wall under Trump because they were going to save money. It was going to cost about $5 billion. It wasn't about securing the border. It was about saving money. Right now, all of a sudden, we're the deficit spenders, et cetera. And you look at the trillions that they spent since, they didn't mean it. It wasn't about saving money. It was about keeping the border open. Voter ID, what's voter ID about? In our mind, it's about secure elections. No, it's about you and me being racist. At that point, now we're on the defensive. Lately, the gun laws are about safety. And particularly when they have one of these school shootings, they're about child safety. You and I have fought for child safety in so many different respects. These are the people that have given their blessing and applauded 60 million plus abortions, but now they're the champions of child safety. Again, we can go down the list, and on every single issue, global warming, anything you want to pick, it comes down to the fact that they are not being genuine about it. They do not care about those issues. They will leverage that issue. And by the way, they'll contradict themselves in the next breath if that's what it takes to win the argument.
Oh yeah, they do it constantly. If you take the whole transgender in sports, that's another
excellent example,
right? Yeah. I mean, that's going on right now, and you compare what they're saying about a woman's right to abortion, her body, her choice, and then you move over to the transgender. It's
a total contradiction.
Yeah. So now we're not protecting women, and you've
got to get my book. I have 2 chapters on liberal hypocrisy.
Oh, I'm all about your book. Your book is already ordered. It's on its way. Yes. I'm so mad at myself. I was so excited to get you on the show that I didn't even give myself time to get the book. And
well, I'll come back on again. I'd be happy to be back on again.
I got you on air saying that, so now you're stuck coming back on.
Absolutely. It's great talking to you.
We could just go for days, couldn't we, Chris? We could go for days and days and days. And I feel like I just want to be a sponge and just absorb everything that and it's going to take me a while, so it might take a few more visits.
This would be great. The thing that we can do, first of all, you see me, I plug my book because it's so necessary for people to start fighting smart. We don't fight smart. But the other thing is that these principles, we can apply them on an ongoing basis, on a day-to-day basis. What are they up to today? How do these rules apply? Because that's the way to get people to understand that this is the game that they're playing, that we've been playing according to their rules and losing. And so this is how, in this situation, we change it. I mentioned my chapter on labels. couple of years old now. I go through and they've invented a bunch of new labels since then. The idea is not to make you an expert on a point-by-point basis on these labels that I mentioned, but to show how they do this. So the next time they do it, you're going, I spotted that. That's what they're really up to. That's how they're deflecting from the real issue at hand here.
I love it. I'm so excited to read this book, and it's probably going to be birthday, anniversary, whatever, any kind of get, like any occasion that you give a gift to somebody, that's going to be what I'm giving out as a gift to everyone.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And, you know, especially my liberal friends.
Oh,
not that I have many anymore.
They won't like it. I got to, you know, I'm on Amazon and I get reviews from these people. And again, some of them I leave up there just because I think that if you're a smart reader who's reading the reviews and trying to figure it out, that they actually are giving me much more of an endorsement than they realize, because you know, the things that they try to attack and the way they try to attack it, if you're smart enough to see where they're really coming from, it's like, yeah, okay, this must be a good book because they hate it. Kind of like when we watch the evening news, if they pick out a bad guy, you know, I'm going to have to look into this guy. He must be a good guy.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anything the mainstream media tells you, corporate media says, it's a given that I will go and look it up and find the actual truth behind it. Expecting
it to be very much the opposite of what they're saying.
Well, yeah. So I don't know if you know it, but I'm a law enforcement spouse, and, you know, we are regular, you know, recipients of fake news and false reporting. And, you know, I'm sure right off the bat, you can come up with at least a handful of widely publicized cases where that was the case, where when the truth eventually did come out, it was completely different. So I actually love when people ask me of an ongoing public case that's happening, like, oh, that was terrible what that cop did. You know, don't you think so? And I always say, and they get mad at me, because I always say, well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know when it's all, you know, all of the facts are out. Yeah, but the video, well, we all, you know.
Look at January 6th and look at what actually happened there compared to the way it was portrayed. And look at the examples of what happened at the Supreme Court in the past when the leftists stormed it. Look what's happening to the Supreme Court justices right now. Look what happened in state capitals where the leftists stormed Wisconsin state capitol. And then look at how these same people characterize that. That was democracy in action. That was the peaceful protest. That was Americans speaking their voices, whatever. And again, total hypocrisy. Guess what? That's how they operate.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite, and I mean that sarcastically in a way, videos during the riots was a newscast, and I don't know if it was a male or female reporter, but the reporter was speaking and saying the mostly peaceful protest, but behind her, the whole city was burning. It was on fire, like flames were everywhere. And she is bold-faced, or he, saying mostly peaceful while the city burned right behind her on screen. And it's like, I'm looking around going, does anybody else see this? And of course we all did. You know,
is this Babylon Bee? I mean, it's like, they couldn't make it more ridiculous. Here again, if we respond defensively to that, you know, I got in arguments with some pretty big names on January 6th because I was supporting violence. And it's like, no, what you're doing is you're accepting the leftist fake news interpretation of what happened at the Capitol, and then you're accusing me on that basis. And it's safer to do that because I'm not going to get attacked by the left. But in the process, what I end up doing, if I follow along those things, and if I color inside the lines that they draw for me, they stay in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't do that. We cannot sit idly by anymore. And anyone who is seeing what's wrong and sitting quietly at this point, these are the people that we really need to reach. I mean, obviously we want to change hearts and change minds and educate people and get them to understand. But our first line of defense, in a way, I think, is reaching these people who do see it. They're just quiet, you know, and it's not time to be quiet anymore. You have to stand up, because everything is at stake. And
we have no ground left to surrender.
None whatsoever. And, you know, they are notorious. The whole, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, you know, with this agenda. if you give them an inch, they'll take a whole country.
Yep. Very well stated. Absolutely right.
And that's what they're doing. Do me a favor, kind of give me an idea, or give the listeners and viewers an overview of what they can find inside your book.
Okay. There's three major things that I do. Is number one, I identify who leftists are. The first chapter is on how their primary motivation is arrogance. And that's why they can get to be made to do such stupid things, is because they go into it believing that they're good people for doing this. So if we look at a 6-foot tall guy on a women's swim team and we call him a woman, that makes me a good person. Okay. It blinds you to how stupid you're sounding. It blinds you to the fact that you're telling a bald-faced lie, but you feel good about yourself because on that premise, the leftist mob has said you're a good person. Okay. So we talk about who they are, what motivates them, the hypocrisy. Then we talk about I talk about how they operate, how the political and the verbal sleights of hand that they pull in front of us, to where all of a sudden they're on this vaunted, phony moral high ground, and we're fighting on defensive. So that's step 2, is how they operate. Step 3, obviously, is then my own set of rules. What can we do about this? Okay, and I'll spoil alert here, is that when you start reading the rules, they're almost anticlimactic, because this is not a magic pill. This is not something that is some super strategy that never would have thought of. It's simple, and it comes down to you don't play the game by their rules, and you stick with the truth. And there's a lot more. It has to be a lot more elaborate to explain how to do that, how not fall in the snares. But that's it in three short parts: is who they are, how they operate, and how we can defeat them.
I am so excited to read this. And what I love already, and I know this just from our conversation, is that you put everything in terms that are clear and understandable for just the average person, for the non-political person in the room. You phrase everything in ways that make it so understandable. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. I want to end on kind of, it's not a silly question, but just out of curiosity, because you know so much of all of these things. So and I know he's saying he's not going to, at least so far, if Ron DeSantis were to run in 2024, and if Trump were to run in 2024,
oh gosh,
what the heck would happen, do you think?
I really, that's probably to me the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. I think that in 2020, I'll be honest with you, I was probably the biggest Cruz supporter in the world early on there. I've probably given more to the Cruz campaign than I've ever given to any other national campaign. I think that both Cruz and Trump really dropped the ball when they started attacking each other. I think they both could have campaigned very vigorously and earnestly without doing that. And I think it almost cost Trump the election. Mm. And I'd hate to see something like that happen in 2024. What I'm hoping happens, maybe I'm naively optimistic here, I'm hoping that Trump and DeSantis have a backdoor agreement about who's going to do what, and that they're strategizing it to give the effort the ultimate momentum. Because in my mind, ideally, if we could get Trump in 2024, we overcome the cheating, we get him in from 2024 to 2028, and then we get DeSantis in for 2 full terms, rather than having them attack each other like Cruz and Trump did. I think that there's a good chance, especially as badly as the left has discredited itself, and as awake, not woke, as our side is, that we could see a 12-year run there that would undo a lot of this damage if they go for it and they go for the leftist jugular, which needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, from your mouth to Trump and DeSantis ears, I hope, because I think that's really such a great vision. I agree with you. I really do. I think that is the best case scenario for us that I personally would love to see. And all of my Floridians are so angry with me. Anytime I try and take DeSantis from them, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to take
No,
it from you.
I think that the two people in this country in the last 20 years who have, another plug for my book, who have shown the best ability to inherently be immune to the Alinsky strategy are Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
And one way or another, if they can work together to make this happen, I hate to see the possibility of a competition between them. I'd love to find out that they're actually working together, because that would be putting the country first.
Absolutely. I agree. All right. That's our dream team right there in whatever context or way that happens. That's the dream team right there. Chris, tell everybody where they can find your book and find you as well.
Okay. I am on Twitter. I'm on Truth Social, and my handle, both of those, is at CG Adamo. I do weekly commentaries, show up on several websites, GOP USA, NOQ Report. These are great sites. And my book is available at Amazon. And if you go to Amazon and just do Rules for Defeating Radicals in the search, it'll take you to my book.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm so excited to have you back. If you're willing, I'll have you back right after I read the book, because I'm sure I'll have like lots of things highlighted and bookmarked and all of the things, so that we can talk about them some more. If you're cool with that, that would be amazing.
Oh, be great. And if you want me on sooner, yes, I'm available.
Outstanding. Wonderful. Thank you. You heard that, guys. I'm holding them to it. All right, guys. This has been the Elsa Kurt Show. I am Elsa Kurt. With me today was Christopher Adamo. He is the author of Rules for Defeating Radicals, Countering the Alinsky Strategy in Politics and Culture. Make sure you go get it. This is probably one of the most important books you could read right now. Take care. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, family, if you're looking for the perfect gift for the reader in your life, why not check out one of my books? They're all available on Amazon and most major online book retailers, as well as elsakurt.com.